Hey, so I've just finished my Saturday run that I planned to do at the start of the week that almost didn't actually happen. And just before I head in the house and shower off and grab lunch, I thought I would kind of share a few things that came up whilst running that were great reminders for me, not only for now, but certainly in the future. And in short, I basically planned out at the start of the week. So every Sunday night I create a plan for the week, what I want to do personally, where I want to kind of move my business forward and people that I'm supporting, and day-to-day support roles that I have, and planning when I'm gonna do a weekly shop and all that sort of stuff, right? Planning life. And I planned in as part of my goal for the week to run a 12k run. Now I did a little 5k at Run Club that I go to on Tuesday. That was great, but Wednesday, Thursday I had a real niggle in my hip. One thing I've been doing for the last few months is 5 minutes of mobility every day, which is really paying off, and I've kept that up, and I just felt like my hip was niggly, but carried on stretching, found that it alleviated a little bit of discomfort there. And what I've ended up doing is just having a few days of rest, extra sleep. I actually had a nap on Thursday evening, which were amazing. Reminded me of the power of just literally taking time out and not pushing onwards when you are tired. And basically, it's got to the weekend, and as much as I am well slept, well rested, and the hip feels all right, I've just not had the motivation to go out for the run. Now, the issue that I have is that I know full well that I am well rested enough. I'm not overtired, I'm not overworked. And, I've got a clear goal that I've set for the end of March that I'm working towards. I'm working to a fitness event. I've also set some goals around, body composition and the way that I look, and, my energy and, speed of runs. So I know that this run is important for me to get out and do it in order to see progress. I know that I'm capable of doing it because I've been on a lot of runs recently. I've not been on a 12k run. The last time I did anywhere near that distance was a 10k at New Year's Eve, so 5 or 6 weeks ago. But I know within myself that I can just go out, see how it feels. If the hip plays up, just call it a day. And instead, it's as you can see, it's cloudy, it's raining, it's wet, it's cold, and I've just given myself this morning all the kind of, I want to call them reasons not to do it, but really just excuses. Because if I know I can do it and I'm not doing it, and I'm finding, maybe the hip's not quite right, I probably shouldn't risk it. I don't know if you guys have ever seen the Whoop bands. I've got one of those, and I was like, yeah, I'll go for the run, but first let me check my recovery for last night, because if my recovery's not up to scratch, then I'm not going to go and do the run, right? I was coming up with all these reasons. Might hurt my hip, I need to rest, it's been a busy week. And what I was doing is, I was trying to rationalise why to not go for this run. And I once heard an amazing saying that rationalising is rationing lies to your mind, rationing lies to yourself. I was trying to ration out these little lies and these seeds of reason not to go out for my run, when really there was, I was going to say there were no reason, there were a million reasons not to do it. But what I weren't doing is I weren't focused on all the reasons to do it. And I think this is a habit and a pattern that a lot of us fall into, is that we fall into the habit of finding reasons and excuses and stories not to do something. So what I did is I sat down and I was like, right, how are you going to feel come the afternoon, come the evening? How are you going to feel having not done this run? And this is not about beating myself up and guilt tripping myself. It's just about being genuinely honest and looking to past experiences where I haven't gone out for the run despite being capable, where I haven't taken action, where I have decided to give in to excuses and reasons and rationalising and telling, these little lies to myself. And I start to kind of play the tape. That's what I call this method. I learned it a while back. I sit there and I play the tape. Right, play the tape, play the story of you not going on the run, of you not going out and doing the thing that you can do, and see how you feel, see how you feel in yourself. Do you feel good? Do you feel good for resting? Do you feel kind of defeated or like a failure? And what I did is I just thought, I'm going to feel frustrated with myself that I didn't go out. I want to be pissed off. I'm going to feel like a failure. I want to feel like a fraud as well, because the amount of times I tell people, commitment's over feelings, and, as much as I truly believe that, commitment's over feelings, and, don't kind of allow the short-term, pleasures and comfort deter you from taking action, you know, all these different sayings. And I like, amazing, great, well, let's just sit with this for a second. And I played it out and I thought, yeah, you'd be frustrated, you'd feel like a failure, you'd be pissed off with yourself, you'd realise as well that you've got this goal that you're working towards at the end of March, it's going to push it further into the future. And ultimately I started to kind of really sink into the feelings that I'd experienced later on, and I was like, I don't want to feel that way. I don't want to feel like a failure. I don't want to feel like I've let myself down. And one thing that I've learned and come to realise is that whenever we make an agreement with ourselves, like I did at the start of the week, hey, I'm going to run 12k this week, and we break that agreement, we break that kind of contract that we've made with ourselves, then we also break a promise to ourselves. And from there we end up, you know, losing self-trust. You know, our confidence goes down, or at least it has for me in my experience. I was like, I don't want to lose self-trust. I want to build self-trust. I want to build self-confidence. And then I started to look to all the benefits of going on the run. You know, I'm going to move a step closer to the goal that I've set. I'm going to follow through on my word. I'm going to become, you know, a man of integrity, or continue to be a person of integrity. You know, all of the reasons stacking up against why this run, you know, should go ahead. Why should I go and do this run? And even then I'm thinking, you know, might pull my hip, it's cold, it's wet. Can I really be bothered to do this? So I just went into our private Facebook group. It's a support group for the gym that I run. And I was just totally honest with the guys, and I said, hey, you know, I've made this commitment at the start of the week. I've said I'm going to go on a run. I don't want to go on the run. You know, I know all the reasons to do it. You know, I know how I'm going to feel if I do a run or don't do the run. And I'm still not quite there. So here's what I'm doing, guys. I'm just typing all this out. I'm externalizing it to process it so I can understand it better, so I can understand me more. That's the beauty of having a safe space and a safe place to kind of express yourself and be welcomed and not judged. And I just said, I'm writing this post for two reasons. The first one is to kind of externalize this and get clear on what's happening, the stories I'm telling and the lies I'm feeding myself, and how I'm going to feel later if I don't do this, and how I'd like to feel ideally if I did do this. Secondly, I'm doing this for accountability. There is no way I'm going to show up in this group and say, hey guys, I am committing to doing this run. I've told myself at the start of the week I'm going to do it. Hey everyone, I'm going to do a run this weekend. I'm going to do a run today, actually. I said, I'm going to do the run today. I'm going to hit post, and then I have to do it now. And you'll see me in a couple of hours. I will post an update. And one thing I made sure was, I said I'm going for a long run. And I posted it and I was like, hold up a second. That is very vague. What's a long run to me might be a short run to someone else, might be a marathon to someone else. So I edited it and I said, to be exact, specific and precise, I am going for a run that is 12 kilometres. That's what I'd put at the start of my week. So I could have blurred the lines here and I go, I'm going for a long run. Come back 7k later and convinced everyone that's a long run, and everyone would have been, you know, cool. Yeah, that's a long run. Well done, Pete. You know, great work. You did a 5k on Tuesday. You've done a 7k. That's a longer run. You know, I could have done that. Absolutely. But I would have been out of integrity with my own self because I set the goal of doing a 12k run at the start of the week. And that's what I meant by longer run. So can you see the difference? That I could have gone out into the world and convinced everyone that I was doing a longer run and did a longer run and get praise and whatever else and congratulated, and then I would feel empty inside and still feel like a failure. And I want my inner world, what I've agreed with my own self, or I've said to my own self, what I am thinking inside, to match my external world that I share with other people and the action that I take. And that's what I did. I edited my post and I just said, so I am exact, specific and precise. 12 kilometers is the distance that I am going to run unless I have a flare up with my hip, and then I'll assess there and then. Because at the end of the day, if I pulled my hip 3k in, all of a sudden now I've made a commitment, I'm going to run 12k. If I push through to save face, I'm going to injure myself. Then no one wins. Then all I'm doing is telling everyone, you know, once you say you'll do something, you have to do it. What I'm saying instead is, here's me being exact, specific and precise. It's not vague. I'm committing to 12 kilometers unless then you know that my hip flares up, or I pull my hip, or running would cause further damage, and then I will reassess. And that's where I can renegotiate the commitment with myself and say, let's lay the facts on the table. Here's what's going on. Here's what I think we should do, and here's why. And at that point we can have another discussion. But hey, we aren't there yet, so let's get out, let's do the run. So I hit post, I hit share, You know, a couple of the guys commented saying, you've got this, a couple of likes in the group. And I was kind of off out and on with the run. And one thing that I did to really make sure that I got this done was to just not put pressure on myself. And that sounds crazy considering I've just gone into a group and said, hey, I'm going to do 12 kilometers. Hey, you know, expect to get a post from me in 2 hours. You know, I've just played the tape and found all the positives for doing it, all the negatives to not do it. And I'm saying I'm not putting pressure on myself. What I mean is no pressure on how long it took me. It could have taken me 5 hours to do. I could have ran a bit, walked a bit, ran a bit, walked a bit. But what I did is I just went nice and steady. I didn't go at my 5k pace. I just went out of the door, and I didn't even have a full route planned, but I had an idea of where I wanted to go. And I just made it all about exploring. Let's not aim to try and beat a time. You know, let's not aim to try and get kilometers per hour or, you know, so many minutes a kilometer. It was just about going where my feet took me. And I think that that's just a really important point in itself, that sometimes having novelty and variety and a bit of looseness around structure. I think for me, the container's been put in place. It's going to be 12k. I've got a rough idea of where I'm running, but still having that flexibility and looseness of saying, hey, but you know, we could turn this corner and do that corner. That's what I ended up going out with. And I set off, I will listen to some music, and then I ended up just putting an audio book on, because I find that I end up running to the beats per minute of tracks, and instead I just ran at a nice steady pace listening to my audio book. Now, here's the crazy thing. I went, as soon as I was out the door, the kind of anxiety of the run, the frustrations that I was feeling, the I don't want to do this, disappeared. Almost instantly. Within a few strides, I was like, we're here now, let's get it done. And that's a great reminder for me in the future, that the thought about doing something is often more scary than actually just doing it. You know, the thought of having to go out for the run, do the distance, run 12k, haven't run that in a while, might get it, blah, blah, blah. All of that is more uncomfortable, challenging, and evokes more fear, anxiety, worry, frustration than just stepping out of the door and actually doing it. Actually doing it, I'm going to be honest now, was enjoyable. I absolutely loved that run. You know, I set off, I'm listening to this audiobook, and I started to find myself like going on the run, and I had a few ideas in mind of some challenging hills I wanted to run. Earlier in the week when I was obviously planning, it's always different when you're planning. Oh, I'll do this hard thing, I'll do this challenging thing. When it comes to it, you know, forget it, I don't want to do it. But when I got out there, I was like, right, let's tackle this hill. Yeah, that'll be challenging. And let's take this longer route, because that way we'll not get home and still have to, you know, do laps around the block to make up the 12k. And as I'm running, I found myself kind of weaving around, and there was one particular long hill that I really wanted to go through, and I really wanted to challenge myself, and it sounds quite sadistic almost, and it kind of is, to put yourself through pain. But what I've come to find is that, you know, often when you put yourself through pain and discomfort, on the other side of that is pleasure. On the other side of that is accomplishment and achievement and pride. And it's me not trying to be perfect and have the perfect run and take on the perfect challenge, but it's about me using the attitude of excellence to go above and beyond. You know, asking myself, where could I push a little bit more here? Where could I challenge myself? And actually just kind of having that deep, kind of like not deep desire, but kind of that desire just come to mind and be like, hey, you know, I actually really want to challenge myself and get to the end of the run and be like, well done, mate, you did that. And to really tap into that sense of pride. And what I started to do is I started to visualize how I'm going to feel when I get home. I get in a hot shower, you know, I have a nice meal for lunch, I chill out for the rest of the day, and I go, yeah, we took on that extra big hill. You know, they were kind of like the bonus points, the icing on the cake, the cherry on top, right? And as I'm coming home, I am roughly, I would say at this point, I'm thinking I've run about 8 kilometers. And I thought I'll give it a little bit longer, another 10 minutes, and I might just be at 10. I'll check my Strava, I'll see where I'm at, and then if I've got to do a little turn off before I get home, then I'll add an extra couple of kilometers on. And I was like, I'm happy if it's 7k, I'm happy if it's 10, if it's closer to 12, bonus. And what I ended up doing is I checked it, and it was on 12.2. I was like, wow, I've already done the 12k. I was in a great little point in my audio book. And the crazy part is, and probably to kind of end this video, or the final point at least, is that I woke up today, didn't want to do the run, was putting it off, making excuses, coming up with little stories about I might injure myself, this might happen, that might happen, rationing all these lies, coming up with a list of reasons longer than a shopping list of why I couldn't do this run. And here I am at 12k. I've just finished the distance that I'd planned to do, haven't ran a 12k in probably well over a year, you know, haven't run a 10k for 6-7 weeks, and even before that was probably back in July last year. So I've ran, you know, I'm elaborating on this, I get it, I'm kind of really pulling the elastic here, but you know, the last 10k I ran was probably July last year, then in December, and now I'm at 12k. So I haven't done a lot of long distance, and there I am going, wow, yeah, I've enjoyed this. I am literally, you know, having a great time. And what I've done is I've ended up just looking and going, right, I'm going to go a little bit further. How many kilometers is 10 miles? Let's try and get 10 miles under my belt. So what I ended up doing is I took a little turn off. I went a little bit longer. There was a great part of the audiobook that I wanted to listen to. So I carried on going. And by the time I got home, I'd extended it a little bit more. I was over 10 miles, over 16 kilometers. And even at that point, I'll be totally honest with you now, my mind is adding up how long it's going to take to run a half marathon. You're nearly at 21 kilometers, Pete. Why don't you keep going? Why don't you get the half marathon? And I didn't actually end up, you know, running any further. We called it a day. It's time to go home, stretch off, have a shower, have lunch. And I just really wanted to jump in just to kind of, again, externalize that, to process it, to learn from it. Hopefully, if anyone comes across this, they find it helpful. And the final point that I will add, actually, is just a little kind of tip of the cap to a couple pals of mine who I know were getting out, I think today or tomorrow, for a 21 kilometer run. Either one or both of them have got a half marathon next weekend, and they were talking about it, and they were saying they were going to go on this long run together. And I was saying, oh yeah, go and do a half marathon the week before your half marathon. And he, you know, he joked just saying, yeah, well then I've ran a marathon across a space of a week. And you know, I felt that energy, I felt that kind of connection with them. And I kind of woke up today and I was like, you know, the lads are off out for their run. You know, they're getting it done. And I'm not big on group running. I wouldn't reach out and say, you know, hey, I'll come with you on this one. Definitely in future I would, after I've kind of proven to myself I can do this. But I was kind of like, you know, the lads are going out, they're getting it done. And there's this kind of sense of, you know, shared challenge. And I was kind of riding off of, you know, their energy, their enthusiasm for getting out and doing the run. These lads are, you know, in the 50s, and I don't see, you know, age as being anything at all. But I absolutely love the fact that they've been on this incredible journey, and you know, they bring such an amazing, absolutely amazing energy to everything that they do. And I was just inspired. I was just like, wow, you know, these guys are getting out, they're getting it done. You know, they're always turning up and bringing 100%, and I'm going to do the same today, and I'm going to bring my 100% and, you know, see what I can get done. So that's all from me today. That is just a little kind of summary of the running experience, and yeah, kind of just pulling out a load of little lessons and reminders for the next time that I wake up and don't want to do this. And perhaps, you know, a reminder that it's okay to feel this way, but just know that on the other side of all the feelings of fear, anxiety, frustration, worry, and everything else is, you know, all the feelings that you want to experience, you know, the pride, you know, the energy, the accomplishment, the achievement, and kind of just the gratitude that you have towards yourself, or the kind of the self of me, that my own self 2 hours ago, that was kind of almost going to throw the towel in, but a part of me chose to go and do the run. And I can be really grateful to that version of Pete for sticking it out, for choosing to show up, choosing to get out, choosing to step up, stand up, and just get the work done. And now I get to enjoy the rest of my day, the rest of the weekend, as a result of his actions. So anyway, that's all from me. If you check this and you had a listen to what I've got to say, thank you. I really appreciate your time. I really appreciate you dropping by. Have an amazing day. Have a great weekend, whatever you're up to. And I'll no doubt catch you again in the next video. See ya.